The distress call. The celestial harmony glided through the void, its crystalline hull reflecting starlight in dazzling patterns. Captain Nera Valen stood on the observation deck, her tall, willowy frame silhouetted against the backdrop of distant nebulae. Like all Linarans, she possessed iridescent skin that shifted between pale blue and lavender depending on the light, with 4 slender arms and large, luminous eyes adapted for the perpetual twilight of their homeworld. "Charting complete, Captain," announced First Officer Thelen, approaching with the careful, deliberate movements characteristic of their species. "The Vermilion expanse yields fascinating stellar formations. Our astronomers are quite excited." Nera nodded, her head crest rippling slightly to express satisfaction. The scientific expedition had been productive, collecting data that would enrich the Linaran Consortium's already extensive star charts. Their people had evolved on a gentle world with minimal gravity and no predators, allowing them to develop a civilization focused on knowledge and artistic pursuits rather than warfare. "Excellent. Prepare a transmission to Central Science Academy. They'll be pleased with our findings." She turned from the viewport, her movements fluid and graceful. "Once that's done, set course for the Cerulean Passage. We should reach home in approximately 14 cycles." The bridge of the Celestial Harmony embodied Linaran design philosophy, elegant efficiency with minimal barriers between workstations. The crew of 32 scientists and navigators worked in harmonious concert, their four-armed dexterity allowing them to operate multiple systems simultaneously. They specialized in astronomical research, not combat. The ship carried no weapons, only enhanced sensors, powerful telescopes, and sophisticated communications arrays. Thelen moved toward the communication station when a sudden alarm pierced the tranquil atmosphere. The sensor specialist's crest flattened in alarm. "Captain, 3 vessels approaching at high velocity from behind the asteroid field." Nera frowned, her inner eyelids blinking rapidly. "Identify." "Unable to match configuration to known species. In our database," the specialist replied, 4 hands working frantically across the console. "Their approach vector is interceptive." "Open communications," Nera ordered, maintaining the calm demeanor expected of a Linaran captain despite the flutter of unease in her thoracic cavity. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Nera Valen of the Linaran research vessel Celestial Harmony. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. Please identify yourselves." The view screen remained dark for several moments before flickering to life. The bridge crew collectively gasped at the image that appeared. A massive reptilian face dominated the screen, scaled in mottled grays and blacks with vertical pupils that narrowed to slits in cold calculation. Multiple scars crossed the creature's snout, and metal implants protruded from its jaw and brow ridge. "Linaran vessel," the creature growled, translator implants converting its harsh speech. "I am Vorzak, commander of the Draxid Reclamation Fleet. Your ship and its contents are now property of the Draxid Imperium. Deactivate your propulsion systems and prepare for boarding." Nera's crest flattened completely against her skull, an involuntary response of extreme distress. The Draxids were infamous throughout the explored sectors. Evolved on a harsh world of active volcanoes and toxic atmosphere, they had developed into opportunistic predators, seeing the galaxy's resources, including other sentient species, as assets to be exploited. "Commander Vorzak," she replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We are a scientific vessel. We carry nothing of value to your people, only research equipment and astronomical data." The Draxid commander's lipless mouth pulled back in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "All things have value when properly processed, including Linaran scientists." The transmission cut abruptly. Thelen turned to Nera, his skin paling to almost white with fear. "Captain, they're targeting our propulsion systems." "Evasive maneuvers," Nera ordered, knowing even as she spoke that it was futile. The Celestial Harmony was built for stability and sensor clarity, not agility. Maximum speed toward the nearest settled system. The ship lurched forward, straining its engines beyond recommended parameters. For a moment, Nera allowed herself to hope. That hope shattered as the first impact struck. The bridge shuddered violently, sending several crew members tumbling to the floor. Warning signals blared from multiple stations. "Direct hit to our starboard engine nacelle," reported the engineer, her four hands moving desperately across emergency controls. "Propulsion capacity reduced by 60%. Another hit rocked the ship before Nayra could respond. "Shields failing. Hull breach on deck 3. The panic in the crew's voices was palpable now, a foreign emotion for a species that had evolved without the need for fight-or-flight responses. Nayra gripped the command console, her mind racing through limited options. The Celestial Harmony carried no weapons. Their shields were designed to deflect space debris, not concentrated weapon fire. The nearest Linaran outpost was days away at their fastest speed, which was no longer available to them. "Captain," Thelen's voice cut through her thoughts. "They're launching boarding vessels." The tactical display confirmed his words. 3 smaller craft had detached from the Draxid ships, moving rapidly toward the Celestial Harmony's hull. Nayra made her decision. "Seal all internal bulkheads, security teams to critical areas." The dozen security officers aboard, equipped only with neural stunners for rare encounters with hostile wildlife during planetary surveys, would be little match for Draxid raiders, but they might buy precious time. "Communications," she continued, turning to the specialist whose hands trembled over the console. "Prepare an emergency distress signal. Broadcast on all frequencies." "To whom, Captain?" the communications officer asked, voice quavering. "We're at the edge of charted space." "To anyone who can hear," Nayra replied grimly. "Include our coordinates and situation. Explain that we are under attack by Draxid forces." As the communications officer worked frantically to prepare the message, Nayra activated the shipwide communication system. "All personnel, this is Captain Valen. We are under attack by Draxid raiders. This is not a drill. Non-essential personnel proceed to emergency shelters. Research teams initiate data purge protocols. Nothing of value can fall into Draxid hands." The first boarding craft attached to their hull with a reverberating clang that echoed through the ship. Nayra could visualize the cutting tools that would soon breach their outer plating. "Distress signal ready, Captain," the communications officer announced. "Send it. Maximum power." The message shot outward, traveling faster than light through subspace frequencies. In the communications officer's haste and fear, a critical error went unnoticed. The directional targeting array, damaged in the attack, had shifted its alignment. Instead of broadcasting toward the nearest Linaran settlements, the distress call plunged into a region of space the consortium had never explored, a region they had been explicitly warned to avoid by older spacefaring species. "Message away, Captain," the communications officer reported, unaware of the fateful miscalculation. The ship shuddered again as the first cutting torches began to pierce the hull. Nayra steeled herself, gathering her crew with a look. "Secure the bridge. Prepare emergency data cores for destruction. Whatever happens, we are Linaran scientists. We face this with dignity and reason." As her crew rushed to comply, Nayra wondered if anyone would receive their call. The nearest allied species were too distant to respond in time. Their fate, she realized with grim certainty, was already sealed. The signal raced through empty space, crossing boundaries and borders unknown to the Linarans. It passed through regions where ancient species had once thrived and fallen, through dust clouds that had witnessed the birth and death of civilizations. Finally, it reached the edge of a territory marked in most galactic charts with warnings and ominous symbols, the territory of the Deathworlders. "Another riveting day in the ass end of nowhere," Lieutenant Commander Elena Reyes muttered, leaning back in the captain's chair of the UES Thunderchild. At 34, she'd already earned a reputation as one of the most effective officers in Earth's expeditionary fleet, her olive skin bearing the faint scar across her left cheek that told of close encounters during the Proxima conflict. The Thunderchild, a Valkyrie-class battlecruiser, patrolled the frontier of human space, a mission Reyes had specifically requested after too many diplomatic ceremonies following humanity's recent achievement of faster-than-light travel and subsequent introduction to the wider galaxy. "What do you expect, Commander? We're literally charting the edges of known space," remarked her XO, Commander Jackson Way, not looking up from his data tablet. The Admiralty didn't put our newest warship out here expecting action. Reyes grunted, in acknowledgement. The Thunderchild represented humanity's latest military technology, a fusion of human ingenuity and principles learned through limited exchanges with the few alien species willing to engage with Earth. At 600 meters long with a crew of 3 I-20, she carried enough firepower to level a small continent, designed by engineers, from a species that had evolved on a planet that most galactic civilizations classified as a death world. Humans didn't know this designation yet. Their limited contact with alien ambassadors had been carefully managed, with most species showing a curious mixture of fascination and unease when meeting the bipedal primates who had survived on a high-gravity planet with extreme weather, aggressive predators, and constant warfare. "Bridge to Commander Reyes," the communications officer's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Go ahead, Lieutenant Park. Ma'am, we're receiving an automated signal. It's not on any frequency we typically monitor. Definitely not human." Reyes straightened, in her chair, suddenly alert. "First contact?" "Possibly, ma'am. The signal's using a basic mathematical sequence as an opener, followed by what appears to be a language our translators aren't familiar with. Put it through to my station. Alert linguistic AI to begin analysis." A series of sounds filled the bridge, melodic, almost musical, but with clear patterns that suggested language rather than random noise. The ship's advanced AI began processing, immediately applying algorithms developed for xenolinguistic challenges. "Translation processing," announced the ship's AI in its neutral feminine voice. "Basic syntax identified. Translating core message." The bridge crew waited in tense silence as the AI worked. First contact protocols had been drilled into them extensively, but this wasn't the carefully orchestrated diplomatic meeting anyone had expected. "Translation complete," the AI finally announced. Message reads, "Emergency distress call from Linaran research vessel Celestial Harmony. Under attack by Draxid raiding fleet at coordinates 8723-45690. Boarding in progress. Any assistance? Greatly appreciated. Please hurry." Reyes and Way exchanged glances. "Linarans? Draxids?" Way questioned. "Neither species is in our database." "Check those coordinates against our charts," Reyes ordered the navigation officer. "Approximately 3 hours at maximum FTL, Commander," came the prompt reply. "Outside, our assigned patrol route, but well within our operational range." Reyes didn't hesitate. In the century since humans had ventured beyond their solar system, they had developed a clear philosophy. When someone calls for help, you answer. It was a principle born from their evolutionary history. Tribes that helped each other survived the harsh conditions of Earth. "Set course for those coordinates, maximum speed," she ordered, then opened a channel to the engine room. "Chief Okafor, I need everything you've got. We're responding to a distress call." "Aye, Commander, you'll have it," came the immediate response. Reyes activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Commander Reyes. We have received a distress call from an unknown alien vessel under attack. This is not a drill. All departments prepare for potential combat situation and first contact scenario simultaneously. Marine contingent to prepare for possible boarding action to rescue civilians. That is all." Throughout the massive warship, 320 crew members sprang into action with practiced efficiency. In the armory, Marine squads checked their combat exoskeletons and loaded weapons. In medical, doctors reviewed what little xenobiological data existed in their databases. In engineering, technicians ran diagnostics on shields and weapon systems. As the Thunderchild altered course, accelerating to speeds that strained its advanced engines, Reyes contacted the nearest human vessels. "This is Commander Reyes of the Thunderchild to patrol vessels Harrier and Peregrine. We are responding to an alien distress call at the following coordinates. Request immediate backup." "Thunderchild, this is Captain Suarez of the Harrier. We're approximately 40 minutes behind you. We'll push our engines to catch up." "Understood. Harrier. We'll assess and engage if necessary before you arrive." Reyes terminated the communication and turned to Way. "What are we looking at for combat readiness?" All systems green. Marines prepping for potential hostile boarding scenario. Medical setting up for possible alien casualties. Reyes nodded, her expression grim but resolute. Whoever these Lenarans are, they reached out for help. And whoever these Draxids are, they're about to learn that humanity answers when called. The Thunderchild surged forward, its powerful engines pushing it to velocities that would have been inconceivable to humans just a century earlier. In the vast emptiness of space, a species born on a death world raced to assist beings they had never met, driven by an impulse as old as their evolution, the drive to protect. Unknown to Commander Reyes and her crew, they were about to make a far more significant first impression than any carefully planned diplomatic mission could have achieved. The galaxy was about to witness why Deathworlders were both feared and respected throughout civilized space. The Deathworlders arrived. Captain Nera Valen pressed her back against the sealed bridge doors, listening to the rhythmic thudding of Draxid, cutting tools on the other side. The acrid smell of superheated metal permeated the air as the raiders burned through the final barrier. Transmission log confirms our distress signal was sent, First Officer Thelen reported, his voice barely audible over the alarms, but there's no way to know if anyone received it. Nera gazed at her bridge crew, scientists and explorers, not warriors. Their large eyes showed the unmistakable dilation of fear, their skin blanched to pale blue with stress. The dozen security officers stood at the ready with neural stunners, but everyone knew those would barely slow the heavily armored Draxids. The data cores, she asked quietly. Purged, Thelen confirmed. Nothing of value remains in our systems. The cutting stopped abruptly. In the sudden silence, the crew exchanged uncertain glances. Then came a new sound, a heavy pounding that made the reinforced doors visibly flex inward with each impact. "They're breaking through manually," whispered the communications officer. Nera straightened her slender frame, her crest rising slightly in a final display of dignity. "Whatever happens next, remember we represent the Lenaran Consortium. We face this with honor and reason." The doors buckled inward with a screech of protesting metal. Through the widening gap, Nera glimpsed armored figures with reptilian features. The first Draxid pushed through, standing nearly 7 feet tall, its powerful frame encased in black armor adorned with trophies, small bones and mechanical components taken from previous victims. "Surrender," it growled through translator implants, raising a plasma weapon that hummed with deadly energy. Nera stepped forward. "I am Captain Nera Valen of the Celestial Harmony. We are unarmed researchers. There is no need for violence." The Draxid commander's vertical pupils narrowed as its lipless mouth formed what might have been a smile. "There is always need for violence, Lenaran. It is the natural order of things." More raiders pushed through the door until a dozen stood on the bridge, weapons trained on the crew. Their respirators hissed rhythmically, filtering the oxygen-rich atmosphere more suited to Lenaran biology than their own. "Processing will begin immediately," the commander continued. "Valuable subjects first." As if on cue, 2 raiders moved toward the science station where the youngest crew members huddled. One Lenaran analyst, barely into adulthood, whimpered, in terror. Nera felt a surge of protective instinct override her fear. "Leave them alone. If you need hostages, take me instead." The Draxid commander tilted its head, studying her with something like amusement. "Bravery from a Lenaran? Unusual but irrelevant. All of you will be processed eventually." A raider seized the young analyst, who cried out as its armored gauntlet closed around her slender arm. Another Lenaran officer, unable to control his panic, raised his neural stunner and fired. The energy pulse struck the raider's armor and dissipated harmlessly. The response was immediate and brutal. The raider swung its weapon, catching the officer across the face. He crumpled to the deck, violet blood seeping from the wound. "No!" Nera shouted, lunging forward only to be restrained by another raider. The commander gestured toward the fallen officer. "Take that one first. Damaged goods require immediate processing." 2 raiders dragged the semi-conscious Lenaran toward the exit while others began systematically binding the remaining crew members. Suddenly, the ship-wide communication system crackled to life. A harsh, unfamiliar voice filled the bridge, speaking in no language the universal translator could process. The Draxids froze, looking at each other in confusion. The commander activated his comm unit. "Report. What's happening in the docking?" "Bay," Static answered him, then a burst of what sounded like weapons fire. The commander snarled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Second team, report." More static, followed by what could only be described as screaming. "All units, battle stations." The commander barked into his communicator. "Unknown hostiles aboard. Secure your positions and—" The ship shuddered violently, throwing several raiders off balance. Emergency lights flashed as a new alarm joined the cacophony. "Multiple impacts detected," Thelen exclaimed, glancing at the still-functioning tactical display. "Our sensors are registering some kind of concentrated energy. Weapons striking the Draxid vessels." The commander rushed to the viewport, shoving aside bound Linarans. Outside, the blackness of space was punctuated by flashes of brilliant light as energy beams sliced through the void, striking the nearest Draxid vessel with surgical precision. "Impossible," the commander hissed. "No ships were detected in this sector." Another violent tremor shook the celestial harmony as something impacted the hull near the bridge. The remaining raiders raised their weapons, forming a defensive perimeter around their commander. "What's happening?" Nera demanded, a flicker of hope kindling in her chest. The commander ignored her, barking orders into his communicator in the harsh Draxid language. The response that came through was fragmented but clear enough for everyone to hear. "Overwhelmed. Unknown species. Heavily armed. Retreat. To—" The transmission cut off abruptly. In the silence that followed, the bridge crew could hear something moving in the corridor outside, heavy, purposeful footsteps approaching steadily. The raiders aimed their weapons at the damaged doors. The commander snarled, "Hold position! Whatever comes through that door dies!" The footsteps stopped just outside. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the doors exploded inward with impossible force, sending fragments of metal flying across the bridge. Several raiders were thrown back by the concussive blast. Through the smoke and debris stepped figures unlike anything Nera had ever seen. They were bipedal, encased in powered armor that made them appear massive, their helmets concealed, their features behind polarized visors. But the efficiency with which they moved into the room spoke of predatory instinct. Each carried advanced weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Most shockingly, they moved with absolute confidence in the Linaran ship's gravity, a setting most species found debilitatingly weak. "Federal Marines," one figure announced, its translator converting the unfamiliar language. "Drop your weapons." The Draxids answered with plasma fire. The newcomers moved with startling speed, taking cover or returning fire with precision. Their weapons emitted sharp cracks, sending hypervelocity projectiles through Draxid armor with devastating effect. Nera watched in astonishment as one armored figure took a plasma blast directly to the chest, an impact that should have been fatal, only to stagger slightly before continuing its advance. The newcomers fought with a ferocity she had never witnessed, yet their movements showed discipline and purpose, not the berserker rage of primitive species. The battle lasted less than 30 seconds. When it ended, every Draxid on the bridge was down, while the newcomers appeared barely winded. The apparent leader of the rescue team approached Nera, holstering its weapon and removing its helmet to reveal a face that was both familiar and alien. 2 eyes, a nose, and mouth arranged in recognizable patterns, but with features that suggested evolution under high gravity and intense solar radiation. "Commander Elena Reyes, United Earth Ship Thunderchild," the being said, voice surprisingly melodious despite its powerful frame. "We received your distress call." Nera stared in shock. You're human?" A flicker of surprise crossed the human's face. "You know of us?" "Only legends," Nera admitted, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. "Stories of a species from a world so harsh that most races classified it as uninhabitable. We never expected to actually encounter you." Reyes nodded, a slight curve to her lips that Nera would later learn was called a smile. "Well, Captain, Today those legends answered your call. My Marines are securing your ship and evacuating wounded crew members. The Draxid vessels are disabled. You're safe now. As human medics entered the bridge and began tending to injured Linarans, Nera struggled to process what was happening. These humans moved effortlessly in the celestial harmony's low gravity, a setting calibrated to Linaran physiology that most species found debilitating. Their reflexes were impossibly fast, their endurance remarkable. "Commander Reyes," she said slowly, "how did you defeat the Draxid boarding party so quickly? Their armor resists most energy weapons." Reyes shrugged, a casual gesture that rippled powerful muscles beneath her uniform. "Kinetic penetrators. Works against most armor types we've encountered. As for the ships, targeted EMP followed by disabling shots to propulsion and weapons systems. Standard procedure." "Standard?" Nera echoed weakly. "Ma'am," a Marine interrupted, approaching Reyes. "All Draxid hostiles neutralized. 37 Linaran crew members secured, 14 with injuries requiring medical attention. No fatalities among the Linarans." "Excellent work, Major," Reyes replied. "Coordinate with medical for evacuation of the wounded." As the Marine departed, Reyes turned back to Nera. "Captain, we need to discuss your situation. Your ship has sustained significant damage. I suggest we transfer your crew to the Thunderchild while we assess whether repairs are possible." Nera nodded numbly, still processing the swift and complete reversal of their situation. One moment they had faced certain death or enslavement. The next they were being rescued by beings straight out of cautionary tales, the notorious Deathworlders. Aboard the Thunderchild, Nera stood in the observation deck, watching as human engineers in spacesuits swarmed over the damaged hull of the Celestial Harmony. Beside her, Commander Reyes studied a holographic damage assessment. "Your propulsion system is severely compromised," Reyes explained. "We can get it functional enough for slow travel, but you'll need a proper dry dock for full repairs." "Our nearest outpost is 14 days away at standard speed," Nera replied. "We'll escort you," Reyes said without hesitation. "The Draxids won't bother you again, we've made that quite clear. But better safe than sorry." Nera turned to study the human commander. In the ship's standardized gravity, noticeably stronger than what Linarans preferred, Reyes moved with natural ease while Nera felt constantly burdened. "Why did you help us, Commander? You knew nothing about us. We could have been the aggressors for all you knew." Reyes looked surprised by the question. "You sent a distress call, someone needed help." "Just like that? No consideration of political advantage or resource gain?" "Those considerations come later," Reyes admitted with a wry smile. "But no, when someone calls for help, humans answer. It's what we do." The simplicity of the answer stunned Nera. In the carefully balanced politics of the galactic community, such straightforward altruism was rare. "The Draxids," she ventured cautiously, "they're a known threat in this region. Your response to them seemed practiced." "First time we've encountered them specifically," Reyes clarified, "but not the first pirates we've dealt with. Space is vast, Captain Valen, but certain behaviors seem universal." Before Nera could respond, the door slid open to admit First Officer Thelen. The Linaran scientist moved cautiously, still adapting to the ship's gravity. "Captain, I've been speaking with the human medical staff. Their physiological adaptations are remarkable." Thelen's scientific enthusiasm temporarily overcame his usual reserve. "Their bone density, muscle mass, cardiovascular system, all evolved for high gravity and atmospheric pressure. And their reaction times." "Yes, I noticed," Nera replied dryly, recalling the blur of movement during the bridge battle.